When you say that the Tea Party movement speaks for a lot of people, do you think that it speaks for you, or are you separate from the Tea Party movement?
I have not fully aligned myself with Tea Party members because I can be totally honest. I was at the Republican headquarters last week, and I met two of them. I haven't reached out for them yet. I'm going to once the convention is complete and the candidate is determined.
Do you believe that government spending needs to be cut, or do you believe that the rate of growth of government spending needs to be cut, or do you think that it's okay as is?
Government spending this is very interesting too, because as I stated earlier, that I had managed federal budgets in the tens of millions of dollars. I was looked after with a magnifying glass down to the penny as a government employee. But Congress are also government employees, but it seems like they got the blank checks to throw out there, and what is the end result? They didn't do the backwards planning that I think, because of my strategical background, I feel that should have been a much better backwards planning, and they haven't done that because you're throwing money at something without clearly defining an end result, and things just keep morphing, and we just keep digging ourselves into a larger hole.
Well, just to follow up on that, President Obama just recently submitted a budget proposal of about $3.8 or $3.9 trillion. Do you think that that's too high, too low, or just right?
Well, I believe that is completely too high. What's interesting is the fact that the president said that, and see, what happened in the campaign and what happens, when the right hand gets raised seems to be two different things. He talked about the lobbyist. He's got more lobbyists than any other. He's helped more lobbyists than any other president in history. He's doing things in a very arrogant manner and trying to just concern himself with the Democrat support. And back to the budget specific, that question, that is entirely too high. But I want to know, where the heck is all of that money going?
Under what circumstances, if any, should the government, or does the government properly have the right to redistribute wealth?
That goes back to, and I want to clarify. I just want to clarify one thing. I think the last statement I said was when with the health care, that no, not everybody deserves health care. Everybody deserves health care, again, if you are working towards it. If you are an able-bodied person, you should do your part to participate in life and the want of things. If you want to sit home and do nothing, then why should you be given? We're in an entitlement society. And that also answers your question. Redistribution of wealth. I have a little bit. I have a home that's paid off. So should I go and get a partial mortgage to help somebody who has a home that they can't afford? Those people, not everybody. Unlike what Bill Clinton said in 1984 in his State of the Union address, when he had an African American lady and her 3 daughters, he said, "There's a single mom, 3 kids. The children deserve a place to play in the backyard. They deserve a house." I'm not saying that they don't deserve a house. Not everybody deserves a home, because not everyone can afford a house. Not everyone can afford that. Redistribution, that's the same thing as the redistribution of wealth. Why should everybody be, not everyone can be rich. Why should everybody have, I don't know, whatever is considered rich? Say, some people, $10,000 is rich. Should everybody have $10,000? I don't agree with that. You have to work. Capitalism is very outlined. It specifies what capitalism is a way to, it's an instrument to progress, to gain wealth. And if you don't use the capitalistic ways to gain wealth, should you be able to sit back and enjoy what other people have sacrificed for? No, I don't agree with this redistribution of wealth.
Let me ask you, shift gears and ask you on a related subject. Do you have a position on TARP or any of the bailouts of financial or automobile companies?
Well, TARP, the original one that Bush was responsible. That was the TARP that Bush was responsible for. It actually did infuse money into the sectors that were in the worst way. What happened afterwards is then we talk about the bailout monies. Again, we're throwing monies, the cash for clunkers, and Toyota made out really well with the cash for clunkers. Okay, so I don't see where that went. Throwing money out there just to state, hey, I'm doing something is not the way to go. You have to be able to think on your feet. The president has this uncanny ability to put things off because he's Mr. Critical Thinker. For example, when Mr. McChrystal, General McChrystal, rather, the commander on the ground in Afghanistan asked for more troops in September, the president boldly said, well, I'm going to have to wait and make a decision. I'll wait until after Thanksgiving, okay, because we don't want to interfere with his plans, because he has to think about these things. Well, if you take so much thought to take care of people that are dying, why can't we do more thought into what you're doing with our money?
Do you believe that the government should divest itself of any of the companies that it's now in control of, or do you think that the government should continue its ownership of those companies for any period of time?
The government should not be in the business of business. The government is not a business. I'm going to give one relevant point. I'm going to go back to Hurricane Katrina. Not defending anybody, but the fact that people were very down on the administration for doing nothing. Why aren't you getting us out of here? The federal government does not own buses. The buses that were supposed to be used to evacuate the personnel were themselves underwater. They weren't at the staging area where they were supposed to be. They were locked up in the gates. So what I'm getting at on that is the government does not run business. The government is a not-for-profit, is a non-profit organization. It's an organization that runs just to keep itself going. So when you take control, when you're non-profit, and you take control of an entity that is a profit business, how could you make that work? You can't make that work. Control needs to be given back to the companies. Companies need to bail themselves out, relook, and I think they're doing a decent job. GM's doing a very decent job. You brought up a point where should we have bailed out the automakers? We did that. We did that for Chrysler. We did it for GM. GM, I think, is all but paid back their. They should be paid off by the first quarter, or they'll be coming up to it. They made a huge. They paid over. They lost. They had $1 billion negative growth, and that was because for the last quarter, because they paid a nice chunk to the government. So they're trying to get themselves out of it as quickly as possible. With that, dealerships stay open. Jobs are still there. Factory lines are still producing vehicles. The jobs are still there. So yes, we did a good job as far as what we did with the bailouts for them. Not too sure about what the bank one though. I'm very leery about the bank bailout and how deep the government is going to maintain their control arm in the banking industry.
Who the hell do you think you are? Move it a little bit to the right. Move it a little bit to the right.